And we are back. We are ready to bring you an interview with none other than Gary Lockwood. How are people going to know Gary Lockwood, Miles?
Star Trek fans are going to recognize him from the character he played, Lieutenant Commander Gary Mitchell, in the second pilot for Star Trek: The Original Series. And fans of the movie 2001 are going to recognize him from that movie.
Right. So, I mean, he's like the all-powerful guy in Star Trek, right?
Exactly. And
the egomaniac, whatever
he gets these godlike powers and tries to kill Captain Kirk and the crew. And the new comic books that have been released deal with that too. I read the first comic book; is pretty good. I'm waiting for the second one. It's a two-parter, so they couldn't finish the whole episode in one comic. So I'll just wait for the second one to come out and tell you more about that when it comes in.
Oh, very good. You'll have to let us know, definitely.
But as far as interviewing Gary Lockwood, I mean, like I said, bit old school.
Definitely old school.
Mm-hmm. And as you know, I'll just say in asking him some questions about maybe some of the, well, at least what I think are artistic merits of Star Trek. For him, what.
He's more interested in.
It was a job.
Yeah, it was. It was very much a job. Job, money, girls, you damn it.
And if you understand, this was back in the 60s, and maybe even today, probably for a lot of actors, just getting a show, it's work. We can look at maybe the artistic merits of it later on, but hey, at least I got work. And in that sense, it's good to. I mean, the man is in his late 70s now, so he's done a ton of work afterwards. I mean, if you look at his IMDb page. Throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you've seen this guy in lots of stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
So he's probably, as far as actors, from ages past. I mean, it was one of our first. It was an interesting interview. Yeah,
it was a very good interview, and kind of, I guess our second one from the original series, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool because we had Sally Kellerman.
That's right.
So she'd have been in that same episode, which is kind of cool. We interviewed them back to back. It's shore leave, so it's at a con, so you're going to hear the con noise, because we did this on the con floor.
Right.
We didn't do that with all the actors. Like with John, we interviewed him in a separate space that had a little bit of reverb, which you probably heard. But anyways, without further ado, this is our interview with Gary Lockwood. Check it out.
Decks on fire alert. Neutralize controls. Kelso, full momentum. Any radiation, anything?
Negative!
Helmsman, take us out of here. Helmsman! Lateral power! Damage reports.
Damage control reports, all stations.
Gravity control, switching to battery.
Something hit me. Like an electrical charge.
He's alive. Appears to be in shock.
Engineering deck 3. Can you give damage report? Got the sensor beam. All power on the deflectors.
Main engines are out, sir. We're on emergency power cells. Casualties 9 dead.
Gravity is down to 0.8. All decks, this is bridge engineering. Go to emergency condition 3.
Gary. Gary, you all right?
I'm a little weak for some reason, Jim, but I feel all right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, how often does a TV series get a second chance and given the opportunity to do a second pilot? Well, we know not very often. However, Star Trek: The Original Series is one of those shows, and our guest today is one of the people who helped make it happen. Not only has our guest made his mark on Star Trek playing Lieutenant Commander Gary Mitchell, but also Dr. Frank Poole in the groundbreaking epic 2001: A Space Odyssey. He's also performed in many great TV shows we know and love, like Night Gallery, Mission Impossible, The $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, Starsky and Hutch, Charlie's Angels, The Fall Guy, MacGyver, Dark Skies. His IMDb page is a very impressive list of popular TV shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Gary Lockwood. Mr. Lockwood, welcome and thank you for taking time to talk with us on the Sci-Fi Diner podcast.
Well, in listening to that introduction, I feel maybe I had to talk to you.
Okay.
I feel pretty famous now.
Well, I think you're famous.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
No, it's great having you here. I mean, you went from being a football player initially to a stuntman to an actor. How does that happen?
Well, I was a football player, but what I was is I was an English and art major, so I wasn't like, well, not UCLA had on that team 3 doctors and 7 attorneys, so it's the old days.
Right.
It's all changed now. The game's different, but I don't even know if some of them can't read, except the quarterbacks are all smart.
Right. But you went stuntman. How'd you get into stunt work?
Well, and when I was a kid, I was in the rodeo as a performer. I trick rode with Monty Montana's group, and was a bit of a cowboy.
Did you grow up on a farm?
Oh yeah, my father is a man who put carrots in a bag called Bunny Love Carrots.
Okay.
And cattle, we had about 1,000 head. They were just an ancillary product. They ate the bad carrots.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was back in the old days when, my father was pretty famous. My father and my uncle. First guy to put carrots in a bag. And my father was sort of always known as the guy who started self-service in markets, because now you put it in a bag. Well, he started that with Piggly Wiggly way back in, I don't know when. He came from Europe. My father was Polish. My mother was German. We'll talk about some interesting breakfasts and lunches.
Yeah.
And the two of them, boy, they loggerheads.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, now, that brings up, your name's not really Lockwood. If you go back
my real name's Jurosik. Yurosek. It was spelled differently, but my father changed it a little bit. And his first carrot brand was called Your Brand, which was the first 3 letters of Jurosik, Y-U-R. And so he did it like this, with a Y and then the U, and then the Y on the side, so that the U became common to both directions of Y-U-R, and was called Your Brand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my old man was a clever guy.
No, that's awesome.
Well, he didn't think much of me. I became an actor. He always kind of thought I was, he'd look at me and go, "You are really easy money," He never was much into my career. But my mother liked the fact that I became an actor. But I didn't ever want to go back on that ranch.
Oh, yeah.
It's
hard work.
the pits. No, it's not hard work. It's the pits. Your old man takes you out there when you're 10 years old and drops you off in front of a half a mile of carrots and hands you a hoe and says, "I'll pick you up at lunch."
In the hot California sun.
Huh?
Which was in California when you were growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, hot California sun, yeah.
Yeah.
I did acres of asparagus growing up, since any consolation I had to hoe.
Where?
I live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, the Amish country.
Wow.
So
you and I know what that's all
a little bit. I didn't have acres and acres of it. I had a few acres of it, and I hated it. I hate asparagus to this day because of it.
I know a bad joke on that.
Do I want to know it? Go ahead, tell it.
Yeah, the one where they go out and play stoop tag in the asparagus patch.
Okay.
That's it.
So you're here at Shore Leave, much to your role in Star Trek in 2001. Growing up, many cite Star Trek as an influence of their love of sci-fi. However, you can't really do this. So what influenced you as an actor and in the sci-fi roles that you did?
What influenced me in acting?
Yeah.
In acting, and maybe a little bit in...
Why I became an actor?
Yeah.
Oh, God, guys. You heard of Beautiful Women and Money?
Right.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't belong to that. I just love to hear the roaring crowd. Man, first off, I didn't have to work on my old man's ranch. Second of all, there was a lot of beautiful girls. And third of all, I made a lot of money. So, I got lucky. I did well, but, you still got to throw your hat in the arena.
Right.
And I kind of started by accident anyway. I would say about doubling an actor, and the director asked me if I would be in the movie. And, voila.
And there you were. Did you have influences, like science fiction influences as well growing up, or not?
Well, a little bit I did, only because, I know if you're trying to see if there's a tie-in, between this and what I ended up kind of doing a lot of. But actually, I did read some sci-fi. But I have a really good friend named Dick Smith, who was my pal. I was a quarterback, and I used to throw to Dick Smith. He was my tight end. And Dick Smith was the big sci-fi guy, and every once in a while there was something really good, and he'd hand it to me. But sci-fi, I was more like into, English literature,
Okay.
But there was some sci-fi that I read, like Arthur Clarke I read, And I think I read William Gibson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't specifically where I was, but when sci-fi is good, it's great.
What do you like in English literature?
Oh, that's tough.
That's tough. I'm an English major. I'm an English teacher.
Give me 5.
I'm an English teacher in high school in Lancaster.
Are you really?
Yep.
Oh, that's a great way to make a living.
Well, it's a
The kids are a pain in the ass, or
sometimes, but you know what? I really enjoy my job overall.
Yeah, I mean that's the greatest.
I do. That's why I asked if you had a specific genre or era of English literature that you appreciated more than others.
Well, I can't say I do. I know that the whole technique of writing has changed. I originally wanted to be a novelist.
Okay.
And so you're going to laugh, but I'm now writing my first one.
After all these years. Good.
I am an old man, and I'm, in fact, my notebook is.
There you go.
If there's a lull, I'll just take some notes.
Yeah.
I finally decided to do it. My wife talked me into it. So, who knows?
We have a story to tell.
Well, I'm not going to tell my story. I've already done that. I mean, this book here that I dictated is about a lot of my career. But, no, it's just a story I have. It's not like it's burning to come out of me, but I like the whole... I mean, you wouldn't know this about me, but I'm a Japanese woodworker. I've designed things. I'm an architect. I've designed some houses around the country. And, I'm one of those throwback guys, So, anyway, what the hell was my point? You had asked me something about the English major.
Right, yeah. Well, your favorite genre or era of English literature.
Okay. That's the reason it's hard to answer is that because the different writers have different styles, In the old styles, automatically everybody says, oh, it's great, it was better. I don't know. The new writers are awfully good, some of them, and because of the whole not direct TV, the whole sort of music video world, that old MTV kind of thing. Like, I'm reading a book right now. Well, I'm reading a couple of them right now, and I don't even remember the name of this. It's The Last Saga on the Lonesome Dove by McMurtry.
Okay.
Larry McMurtry.
Okay.
Do you know that one?
It's
Woodrow Call and
it's like it's a Western?
Augustus McCrae. And I think in the story they come on Lonesome Dove.
Okay.
And it's just a little pueblo, like with 4 buildings.
Right.
And later on in the other books, it was a bigger, right? Lonesome Dove was a town.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read, but those were great books. I mean, those were nice books. And did he write The Last Picture Show?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
You're asking him. Is he a major as well?
No, he's not. But if he knows any minuscule fact about something, I go to him because he has a great memory for that.
Oh, here's your go-to guy.
He is.
I'm a fountain of useless information.
That's what he tells
me.
No,
dude. Don't ever look at life that way. You never can know enough.
Right.
I'm a bit of a poker player. I was a poker player as a kid. You never can know too much.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. Sophie.
I'm going to just answer his question.
Sorry.
Okay.
What I keep not being able to specifically tell you is that the writing styles have changed according to the rapidity and the activity of the current society.
Right.
So the writers are now doing shorter chapters. I mean, I've been reading a few books the last few years, and I've noticed that.
Right.
And so in my book that I'm attempting to write, I'm kind of taking heed of that.
I think you.
But I've read so many great books in my life, but it's pretty difficult from Saul Bellow to, I mean, I even signed with some of my autographs. It was the best of times,
Right.
You know what I mean? if you're a reader, you're a lucky person. So you're lucky to make a living in that. You're too young yet to probably really appreciate it. But at this age, what the hell is there other than books? You know, there's a good movie once in a while, but not too often. But, you know, a lot of great books.
It's a Star Trek-related question. When you first started Star Trek, was this your first work in sci-fi? Or have you done anything else before, any sci-fi related before Star Trek?
Probably I had. I just don't remember. You know, I did a lot of jobs. I was a, pretty successful actor. I mean, I got a lot of work. So I would think not. But, you know, I can't think of anything. But, you know, possibly.
Gary, are you interviewing?
Yeah. Get out of here. Come back when there's time. Are you going to get her?
Oh, yeah, we got her.
Sally, they already got you. I mean, I didn't mean it like that.
We're interviewing her later, 6 o'clock.
I didn't mean it like that. I don't know, Sal. You had a pretty good run.
Now, being that this was the second pilot that was filmed for Star Trek, was there a feeling among the cast that they hit on the show that it was going to take off?
No.
Really?
No, Roddenberry called me up and said, I made this pilot, and it didn't sell. And basically they kind of said, to get me and let me be the guest star. He paid me handsomely.
What was handsomely back then?
Well, I can't go into that.
Okay. I thought it.
You can work on it.
All right.
He took care of me.
Right.
And so I did the pilot. But the thing is, I didn't even read the damn script. I just showed up, and next thing I know, they put these contact lenses on me, and it was hell. So it was the worst job I ever had in terms of, you know what I'm saying? The worst job I ever had.
Because of the contact lenses?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the end, I couldn't... Like Sally, see, she doesn't, in the story, become inflicted until a little bit later, so she didn't wear them as many days. I wore them, like, maybe of the 6 days, 7 days we shot, I must have worn them 4 or 5. And at the end, oh, man, I couldn't keep them in very long. See, also, they had different film speeds, so they'd put a lot more light on you. So it heated up, and, oh, God, it was terrible. And then I've just made an absolute fortune signing autographs on it.
Right.
Well, not a fortune, but I mean, all kinds of extra money. It's remodeled a bunch of my houses.
Right. So it's helped in that way, right?
Yeah.
Star Trek is about telling stories and addressing social moral issues. I rewatched Where No Man Has Gone Before not too long ago, and it was still spoken to about the message. I believe it was telling me that even good people can be corrupted by having great power. Would that be kind of a correct way to read that episode?
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to remember that in drama, he'll tell you it's conflict. I was hired to, be off by Shatner. I mean, I was the guy that was running out of control, and it's the formula of TV. You have an hour to do it, and I'm not a big TV watcher, and for that reason. Because when I'm watching a story, everybody goes, oh, this is a really good show, or that's a really great show. The problem with these shows is like, if it starts at 8 o'clock, at 10 of 9, whoever walks through the door is going to be guilty. And we're going to go to their house and find them, or they're going to, I don't want, the television, it's fine and everything for people who come home and want to turn something on. I like to watch sports and movies on. I belong to the DirecTV. I get the football package, for up to $360. I just got it for the new. But I live here and in Canada, and up there I'm watching every damn game on Sunday, and my wife doesn't. No one bothers me on Sunday, Just to hell with the world.
Right.
Because I love pro football.
So So the formula of TV bothers you sometimes?
Yeah, it does. I'm being very candid with you. I mean, I'm not trying to be a smart ass.
No, but it is.
It has to be that way. I think what I'm trying to say is that there's no way around it. I mean, TV is designed to sell views, you know. I mean, it's not free.
Right.
I mean, you can turn it on, but... And I'll tell you what somebody taught me once when I first wondered about television, the ratings and all that, and they later made that movie Network. Patty Chayefsky did a wonderful job of writing Network. There is an interesting concept because it's all about ratings. If you don't get the ratings, you're out of there. And people will say, boy, I remember a show with George C. Scott, East Side, West Side. What a great show. Why'd that go off the air? Didn't get the ratings. Sure, it was a great show. One of the best maybe on television. George C. Scott was one of the best actors that ever walked the earth. But the point that I'm trying to make, it didn't get the rating. So, man, and a guy once explained it. He said the demographics, I know it's all changed with cable now and so many channels. He said, if you buy time in the top 20 shows or top 50 shows, whatever, if you buy commercial time, and in 6 weeks you'll have exposed your product to more people than ever saw all of Clark Gable's movies. And he was the king of cinema.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's incredible.
See, that's a big number.
Oh,
so, I mean, you come along with Pop or Crack cereal, you know, your Kellogg's or whatever the hell you are, and you guys have a board meeting and go, why don't we come out with a new cereal that's Rice Krispie and got chocolate in it? Oh, wow, that's really a smart-ass idea. How do you know? Yeah, it's all sugar.
Right.
Yeah. Hook the little bunnies on sugar. So they buy time in the top 20 shows and takes a lot of gamble out of the product.
Oh, yeah.
But people can't get into that because television's their friend. They come home, they turn it on. It's like a roommate. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So, nothing new. If you don't believe me, watch your network.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it does. It has to sell product.
It does.
If it doesn't sell product, they aren't going to invest in the show.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
In this day and age, it seems a show, if it doesn't, first few episodes doesn't get an audience.
See, in our day, they bought 13. So you had a chance. I did The Lieutenant. I only lasted 1 year. I was opposite Jackie Gleason. Actually, at the end, we were making inroads on him. We started to develop an audience. But we had a pretty good show, and Roddenberry, who produced Star Trek, wrote it. And the Marine Corps, they knew they were going to Vietnam. And so a lot of, politically, I think, I got off a little bit, too, because of that. But right after that, Kubrick called, so I could have cared less.
Right.
That was, the best, I mean, not the best job I ever had, but the most interesting job I ever had was, and I loved Stanley Kubrick. He was brilliant. So it was a lot of fun, You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of brilliant people. And the two Californians were Doug Trumbull and myself. What was funny is we lived a mile apart on a mountain in Malibu.
Okay.
Lots of space.
You know?
All right.
I said, hey, man, you're from California, because Californians are different than other people. Not that they're cool or uncool, but they're a little bit cooler. And I walked by and I nodded to a couple guys, and one guy looked up and went, like that. It's not the New York nod. It's
right.
not.
It's a different nod.
It's a different nod. It's like much more subtle, Yeah, it's a California thing. How's the surf? It's pretty cool.
My wife was born in California. She would probably agree with you.
Huh?
My wife was born in California. She lived the first 10 years of her life in California before her family moved out here. So I'm sure she can.
Well, she'll tell you.
Yeah, she'll tell me.
Yeah, I remember once when I'd got a movie Split in the Grass, and we went upstate on location, a whole bunch of young guys. And I had a reasonable good role, but there was a bunch of extras and young guys. and we're all going up to High Falls, Connecticut, or somewhere like that, upstate New York, to start shooting. And the company asked me if I'd get on the bus because, you know, I had to go work that day. And, I mean, according to the guild, I was entitled to a car, you know, a limo. I said, I don't mind, man. So I get on the bus, and I'm walking down the aisle, and there was one guy from San Diego. I remember walking by, and the guy just kind of looked up at me. I looked at him. He went, you know, it was just
right. That smile.
It's just, you know,
another Californian.
Yeah, another guy like, yeah, everything's cool in Redondo.
Right.
California guys roll joints with one hand.
We'll have to take your word on that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what I'm saying. It's a joke.
Right.
In a windstorm.
Right. Okay.
Now, I know you were at Vegas Con last year, and now you're with us at Shore Leave. Do you plan on making more convention appearances?
I'm sorry?
You were at Vegas Con last year, and now we have you here at Shore Leave. Are you going to make some more convention appearances?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, I'm doing very few.
Very few.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of. But when I lived back east, when my wife was taking care of her family, and I'm not really in love with the East. I mean, it was all right, but I got a little crazy living here. Everybody eats too much pizza. So anyway, it was all right. You know, I mean, I lived in Seagirt on the shore and down Jersey Shore. Had a great boardwalk.
Right.
And there was a restaurant called Rod's that had a great chopped salad. But I mean, you know, it's not my thing.
Not your thing.
You know, it's all right. But, you know.
Now, you're writing a book, but are you doing any other acting appearances?
No, I retired 18 years ago.
Okay.
I've done like one show since then. I think I did Dark Skies, like, it was a lot of fun, too. Yeah, I think that's the last job I ever actually did.
Is that in the late 90s? Is that late 90s or late 80s?
No, I don't even know.
I don't even know. I should look in your IMDb.
Yeah.
It could be there, but...
Yeah.
Now, what was it like working with Kubrick?
That's the greatest.
So...
See, that's it. I used to be a smart ass and say, oh, I've never been asked that.
Yeah, right.
But because you're an English major, I let you off the hook.
Right,
And I didn't say, and I said, no, he was, you know, what do you, I mean, the brightest guy that was ever out there.
I mean, talk about a movie that has really helped define the genre of science fiction. I mean, in high school, this was mid-80s, late 80s. And I remember seeing it on Laserdisc. One of the big, you remember?
Oh, yeah, I have one.
It was a big Laserdisc, and one of the first movies I watched on it was 2001 Space Odyssey. Of course, this is, 10, 15 years after.
And a little dinky screen, too.
Right, a little dinky screen, which totally didn't do it justice. But, you know, it had such an impact, that movie, when it came out in the... And did you realize as it was being made... We asked this with Star Trek, but... Go ahead.
Okay, this is a very interesting point that you are not aware of, that you stumbled into. I was the only person who said a lot of things. You know the word encomium?
No, enlighten me. I should.
Okay, well, it's, you know, it's a, when you're honoring something, when you're saying, when you're praising, you know, an encomium.
Right.
And on the tour, to sell it, I was saying things like, I think we made one of the best movies ever and stuff like that. And I was really took heat because, you know, I was a bit of a smartass in my career and chased a lot of beautiful girls and drove Ferraris and, you know, and the East Coast liberals didn't like me and thought I was a redneck or something, you know. But I voted for Obama, for Christ's sake. This, you know,
right.
You know what I mean? I grew up a ranch, but I left. But because of my prowess and chasing the chicks and being a wild bastard, I used to get a lot of bad press. Mm-hmm. And I got a lot of bad press for saying that I think we made one of the best movies ever. I was really taken to task. Mm-hmm. And it really resonated with me in a bad way. Because I knew I was right. And if you ask me why I knew I was right, there are a lot of people out there who may hear this and say, well, I never liked that movie, and I think you were wrong. But 2001 was a a direction changer. Not, as certain movies are. You know, like, I haven't seen a really great movie since No Country for Old Men. That was a great movie.
And a direction change in some ways.
Somewhat.
In some way, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, there are these movies that come along and then and everything goes that way. I mean, they can do the Transformer all they want. I might see it on DirecTV one night, but I'm not going to go pay them. I'm not interested in it. Oh, okay, cute. Fine. There's no story, nothing happening. It's not my thing. But I had seen Kubrick movie. The first time I ever saw a Kubrick movie was called The Killing.
Okay.
I saw the movie. And you got to remember now, I'm a ranch kid. I'm like 15, 16 years old. But whenever I could get away from that damn ranch, I loved movies. And when I was real young, I used to ride my horse to the local cinema. And the old man would let me tie up, and I could go in the movies for 10 cents.
Right.
So I saw a lot of movies in my life. And as I got older and was able to drive, I would drive to downtown L.A. when it wasn't where you get killed. I'd drive to downtown L.A., park my car at Pershing Square, and go to all these old cinemas, 800, 900,000 seat cinemas, and see all these, and I'd see art films, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. California had a lot of movie houses, and there were these. I remember seeing Orfe Negro, the great movie that came from Brazil. I saw all these great films. And then later when I lived in New York, I used to go down to 42nd Street and see all the great films. So I grew up kind of not a film student, but I mean, I saw Kubrick's movie, The Killing, and everything stopped. Because that's the first time I ever walked out of the lobby to see who made the movie. I don't mean the stars.
Right.
And I walked over because... Now, here's the other part. I won a national poster contest for my art when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. So I had an artist's kind of mind, a photographer, artist painting, kind of mind. I've also designed homes, so, kind of tells you who I am.
Right.
I didn't know why The Killing was so good because I wasn't smart enough. I didn't grow up in New York walking around talking movies every day. I didn't have anybody to develop that side of my brain. But I remember being that young and looking at the lobby going, man, this is interesting. So I looked down to Stanley Kubrick. Was it taking too long? Am I cool?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. So I look at it because this played a big deal in my life. And so I look at it and I go, Stanley Kubrick. Wow. I know these directors. I don't know how movies are made. I don't know the process, but, this guy, boy, this was really an interesting movie. The way it looked and everything about it, the dialogue, really appealed to me. So, cut print. I'm at UCLA and I'm playing football. And they have out there in September what they call the devil winds. The Indians call them devil winds. They're called Santanas. And the desert heats up. And even though I lived in Malibu on the beach, I was one of those. I drove a Porsche. Okay. Talk about a different guy. And I rent a beach house, and I'm in my Porsche, and I was a money lender in school, and football tickets I sold. I was, one of those guys. I had cash. And I wake up this morning, and it's like 105 in Malibu, and that's never 105 in Malibu. I go, oh, man. And it's September, double session football practice.
Okay.
And I wake up and I go, and I take the paper, the LA Times. I get out, I go out to get my paper. It's like 6 in the morning. I had to be at training table 8 o'clock. I live about 25 minutes from Westwood at Big Rock Beach. And I go, fuck, man, I can't do the practice today, man. And that was the kind of guy I didn't give a shit if I got kicked off.
Right.
I just didn't care. I love the game. It brought me a lot of chicks and things, but I mean, I didn't, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I didn't want to play pro ball. I was always getting hurt. Screw it. And there was no money in it in those days. So I got up and they're like, whoa, Jesus. So I drive into town, and everybody was kind of used to me being the hustler, Mm-hmm. So I get my tray of food, and I call them the Nazis, and all the coaches are like about 7, 8 of them are lined up. They're all eating their morning breakfast. It's 2-a-day sessions. And I get my tray and I turn around. A couple of my buddies still laugh about it, a couple of them that I still see. And they said, we saw it. And I did it on the cuff. I just turned around and said, Coach, I can't come to practice today. And you got to remember the time. 18 Nazi eyes pour a hole through me.
Right.
What? You know, what's she talking about, goddamn? And I said, Coach, I can't come to practice today. I got a ticket this summer in San Luis Obispo, and I got to be in court in there by about 11:30 today. If you had any brain, you'd know that you had to go to court at 9, right?
Right.
Nobody said shit. So I go sit down, and my buddies they're all, you know, they're with me. Nobody said a word. And I sit down, my buddies go, You lying, mother, you're not going to San Luis Obispo, are you? I go, yeah, I am. I got a ticket. I wouldn't break, you know, because I knew somebody would blow my cover.
Right.
I opened up the newspaper that morning and saw that Stanley Kubrick, his movie Paths of Glory, was opening in Hollywood. I drove my Porsche to Grauman's Chinese, which was across the street from the Paramount, and I saw Paths of Glory 4 times, and then went back to dinner at the training table. It's a true story. And then I said, you ever see Paths of Glory?
I have not.
Oh, man. Over the top, brilliant. And now I'd seen 2 films of his, and I said, well, that's it. You know, this is a guy. So I don't know, by the time I actually became an actor and he called on me, I think I would say about 7 years had passed. Mm-hmm. My agent called me up and said, you've been offered the lead in Stanley Kubrick's new movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I went, wow, Space Odyssey and Kubrick? And I turned to my agent, or on the phone, I said, tell me something. My agent was famous, Jimmy Dean, Marlon Brando, Jane Fonda. I said, hey, Dick, what's it going to cost me? That's my answer to it. You know, but the formality of the business is the offer comes, you say yes, the offer goes back.
Right.
It's a deal from that second on. You can't get out of it. It's a very tight business that way. An offer goes to an actor, he says yes, the agent says to the producer yes. At that point, you owe it. So,
wow.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So, of course, when I got there and I saw the sets and everything, I knew, man. So, later on, I'm in front of the writers. You know, and there was a lot of East Coast press, and, you know, because I got honored by the Writers Academy.
Okay.
And I said something about it right there. I just said, man, you guys from the East Coast, you know, you think you're the Big Apple, and you know everything going on in the planet, and you're the center of the universe. You didn't know anything. Because every critic in New York hated our movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, yeah.
And there isn't a movie, very few movies have that kind of legs. Citizen Kane, 2001, you have to have been in it to understand the impact of it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be right with you. You have to have been in it to understand the impact of it, because I've lectured on it all over the world. It's not so much I saw these pictures. It's just the type of person that comes to you to talk about it. You know, I told you about the guys who bought all the pictures and software business. You know, I told you about that, right? It's a lot of people with a good brain really love the movie. Guys come to you and they say, you know, I was in med school, I dropped out and went into technology, and people say things like that to me. You know, so it had a big impact with a certain type of person.
Sure.
Not so much females, but mostly males. So,
This is their career, different career.
well,
paths,
it was a change for them. You know, they they took their lives in a new direction after they had seen it. You know? So it was just a little brief moment of glory where I could get back at those people who hated it. One critic wrote that Gary Lockwood came into Chicago wearing a three-piece suit looking like a Southern California accountant. You know, I had all kinds of shitty things said to me because of who I was as a person.
Right.
But eat your heart out.
Right.
That's right.
Eat your heart out, man. I did it. You didn't. So it's like a young dude comes up and goes, hey, man, 74 is not old. It's just a number. I say, yeah, you can say it because you got the good number. I got the bad number. Yeah, life is getting old sucks because life was so much fun as a kid. I surfed, traveled the whole world, and had a great time. But the best part of my life, other than the birth of my kid, was working for Kubrick. He was brilliant, and you know, I came up with lip reading. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Did you see the movie, right?
Yeah, numerous times.
Yeah, well, there was a day one day when, as long as you're that interested in it, I'll tell you. Want to hear it?
Sure.
You know, when I did that show with the astronauts, I came home with a lot of $100 bills because some of the astronauts like get $300-400. Like Aldrin gets $400 a signature.
Wow.
Well, believe me, second guy to step on the moon.
You should command a good price tag.
Yeah.
It's nice to be around there, right? Because you got a lot of good crowd coming through, too, right? Or not?
Oh, I made a lot of money, but I mean, you know, I made quite a few thousands of dollars. But I mean, we were there 4 days. You'd look over and he would just have a line, 400 a pop. I don't actually get along with him. Aldrin and I don't like each other. And he shows up in my life when they honored me at the Writers Guild.
Okay.
He was there. What happened was Aldrin, some guy wanted us to meet one day, just because, you know, me playing an astronaut. So this guy sets up a lunch in Brentwood, California, and I said, well, what am I going to do with this guy? I've met a lot of famous people. I don't particularly want to go. You know, he goes, so I go, and the guy doesn't like me, or he's a nasty guy, and he doesn't like the fact that he's there. He did it because, you know. So I sit down with him, and he's not very pleasant. And you get the vibe, you know. You get the, like, and I'm a poker player, and, you know, reading people is my game. And I just go, so, how are you? I'm fine. So the guy that gets us together goes to the bathroom. And I turned to Aldrin and I went, hey, man, I can tell with your body language you're not real happy about meeting a little lowly actor. And I'm not real nuts about meeting you. You're kind of a surly guy. So how about this? I'll get up and split, and you get up and split, and we'll forget about it. Hey, fuck it. I didn't go there with bad vibes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but that's his problem. Is that, you know, so he fucked off and I fucked off, and I probably hooked up with him like 4 or 5 times since.
Oh wow!
It's funny.
It is. You keep running into him.
Well, no, it's situation.
Right.
Like down in Tucson.
We're gonna have an astronaut here this weekend.
Huh?
No, they were.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, it's not. It's canceled. Because he saw the shuttle launch today.
Okay, they were supposed to have an astronaut here this weekend, but I guess that got canceled.
There's some really cool astronauts. A couple of them have kind of become pals of mine. Rick Surfos, shuttle commander.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking time to interview us.
Thanks for the great stories.
Anyway, queen takes pawn. Okay?
Bishop takes knight's pawn.
A lovely move. I'm sorry, Frank. I think you missed it. Queen to bishop 3. Bishop takes queen. Knight takes bishop. Mate.
Yeah, looks like you're right. I resign.
Thank you for a very enjoyable game.
Yeah.